All right, I'm going to start out by saying thanks to Jarrett for a couple things, for the introduction and also for being the MC of this conference for the last 2 years. I know it's not an easy job. I had to talk him into it this year. He came up with a bunch of excuses, but here he is, and again, a great job. Thanks.
You and Alicia Keys, right?
Yeah, you bet. You bet. You did a great job as usual, and I want to thank you. A couple other people I want to thank for putting this conference together. The most of all, Roberta Sheng-Taylor from the BC Association of Crane Safety. She stepped into the game a couple months ago, picked up the ball, and made it what it is today. So a big shout out to you, and thanks very much. Megan Martin from Industry Labor Services at WorkSafeBC. Megan is my go-to here at WorkSafeBC with regards to the conference, how we're running it, how we're getting it going, and most of all, putting up half the money with prevention to pay for it. So, Megan, thank you. Betty Ann Lee, I know you're hiding in the corner over there. Our go-to for conferences of all industries and makes these things go off without a hitch, picks up all those small pieces, and makes the day what it is. Again, thanks, Betty Ann Lee. Fraser, last but not least, and I'm sure there's lots of other people, pardon me, but Fraser, both Fraser and I worked with these gals to get this thing together. And Fraser, thanks for doing what you did on behalf of BC Association of Crane Safety. You're a good partner. Thanks. I'll start off by saying WorkSafeBC is committed to being a world-class health and safety regulator, and that includes the inspection and the safe operation of tower cranes. We can only achieve our world-class tower crane status by working with you, the industry, and our associations to achieve our goals and our commitments that we make. So I thank you for doing that. I'm going to take a few minutes, like Jared said, to talk about our 2018 to 2020 crane initiative, a 3-year initiative. We're into next year's our last year, obviously. I'm going to talk about some observations that we've had with regards to safety, what we're going to do next year to roll out, to finish off the strategy, and then moving forward with a couple other projects or plans related to tower cranes. Then Fraser's going to get up and talk more detail about some of the strategies that I'm just going to pinpoint. If you have any questions throughout my presentation, maybe save them till the end, and then I'll answer them all then. So here we go. So safety challenges. So WorkSafeBC officers are committed to inspecting every tower crane in the province. We also develop surveys through our inspections for our officers internally, and we also look at data related to tower crane incidences. Data, we're very data. We're looking at data. And that gives us a unique opportunity to gauge how all firms are erecting and inspecting and operating tower cranes around the province. So we're not just looking in the Lower Mainland. We're up at Site C. We're into Kitimat. Go ahead, Jared.
I apologize for interrupting, but this is a really kind of an important time for us because we're not just looking at quantifiable data. We're actually looking at qualifiable data to tell a story as opposed to simply trying to measure things. So that is a tremendous shift for us, and I think is going to be very important in the future. Sorry.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and it is real time. It's our officers coming off a site and then getting an inspection. The inspection report triggers a survey that asks them a series of questions, and we get data out of that. For crane contacts is one survey we have, so crane to crane or crane overlap. And the second one we have is misadventures. Why is the misadventure? What type of cranes it related to, and what was the causation? Structural, mechanical, controls, operational, or other. So some of that stuff is exactly what we're looking at. It's important to discuss the reoccurring tower crane safety challenges that we see, that we accumulate, so that we can identify these high risks and obviously prevent them. They are all preventable. We know that. And here's some of the ones we've been looking at. So I'm going to talk about crane contacts. Paul Russell did a great job on zoning devices, and I'm not going to go into regulations and things for you, but crane contacts, one of our big issues, and one of the pieces that come up in data, whether it be crane to crane contact in a tower crane overlap situation, or crane to high voltage limits of approach, to high voltage power lines, both are high risk in nature and have the potential to cause catastrophic equipment failure or loss of workers, loss of human life. Both very serious. To date, we have had 22 tower crane contacts in the province. So 2019, 22 contacts, all preventable and all serious in nature. So crane contacts, a big piece that we need to look at and we should all be focusing on. Operator qualification versus certification. We've talked about planning and putting things in place beforehand. We put a tower crane up and then we grab an operator, whether it be a B-level trainee operator or a full scope operator, it really doesn't matter, and we put them in the seat of a tower crane. And some employers take the certification, again, whether it be a trainee or a full scope operator, and take that as being qualified. And we know tower cranes aren't all the same. We know machines aren't all the same. They act different, they operate different, they're inspected different. Employers need to be cognizant of that and take the opportunity to ensure the operators have demonstrated competency and familiar with the operating instructions for that crane. We're seeing a real lack in that, and again, the need for an operator because the person quits or moves to another job or whatever, the need to get that crane swinging and moving for that day seems to overtake the need for confirming that the operator's qualified and demonstrated competency to be in that machine, that someone had a look at them before they gave them the controls. Preventative maintenance inspections. It's been talked about a lot in here already, but tower cranes in our province are aging tower cranes, many of them 30 to 50 years old. You don't have to look too far to find a 30 to 50-year-old tower crane in our province. We know that these cranes have to be inspected, and again, we're looking at operators inspecting them on a daily basis and weekly basis, and we're also looking at technicians getting the time to look at them, setting up a plan to look at them on 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, 12-month basis for preventative maintenance. We see the lack of preventative maintenance, leading to reactionary maintenance and reactionary breakdowns. That machines are breaking down without notice, which is a risk to workers and the job site, and then the reaction to get them fixed is another cause or another risk associated with the preventative maintenance not being kept up. Crane modifications. I talked about 20 to 50-year-old cranes, and many of those 20 to 50-year-old cranes aren't supported by the manufacturers anymore. We know that you still need parts to keep these cranes going. The structural, mechanical, controls, electrical, operating. You have to keep the cranes going, so necessity is the greatest inventor. The employer robs from another crane or grabs from a supplier to keep the machines going and modifies those components of the crane because they have to. They can't go to the store, to the OEM, and buy those parts to put them on. Those are modifications. Paul talked about modifications again in the zoning devices and in installation. It's no different adding a zoning device to a tower crane than changing the control panel for the crane or changing the controls themselves. When you make those modifications, you need to have them supported by the manufacturer, a professional engineer, and those modifications need to be recorded in the operator's manual. So if you're looking at your cranes and you need to buy something or replace something that isn't supported by the manufacturer, you need to have those modifications engineered and documented. Last one I'm going to talk about is rigging. And when I'm talking about rigging, I'm talking about rigging and lifting loads. We continue to see poor rigging practices that include lost loads, drop loads, unsecure loads, and they're all serious again. They're all serious in nature. Rigging is a big problem in our industry. It's also extremely high profile to the public when something falls from the sky. As you know, any of these things, it's big media, big notice when a load or something falls from a tower crane. We're all aware of it, the industry aware of it, like that. So, you know what, rigging is a problem. Industry collaboration. So what do we do with the safety challenges we face? We collaborate. We do the things that we're doing right now. We come to you. We come to the associations, our major players, industry, all of you here, and we identify the problem. We come to you for the solutions, and we work as a group to fix them. Yeah, we come together as a group to fix them. The initiatives we're currently working on with our partners for 2020, pardon me, is the BC Association of Crane Safety, the best practice for the assembly and disassembly of tower cranes. We had a meeting in the summer with 35 tower crane erection supervisors, and we committed to making an erection disassembly best practice, and we're on that path now. We should have it done somewhere in Q1 of 2020. The BC Association of Crane Safety, again, the Crane Operative Certification Scheme, which will be changing in 2020 to adopt the ISO standard certification. Fraser's probably going to talk about that a little more.
Great job. I don't have to.
Oh, you'll get up here. The engineering geoscience British Columbia piece that we talked about earlier, again, this is the annual inspection of mobile equipment, the professional practice by EGBC. We're going to be in a co-rollout or a co-communication plan for that to get that out to the employers. It will be a change to the industry, the inspection by qualified people, structural mechanical controls, and that guideline basically describes good engineering practice to get that work done. Technical Safety BC, I think somebody talked about it earlier. Remy, I think you talked about the electrical code, the CSA, tower cranes being certified to the CSA electrical, the whole machine. We have met with Tech Safety BC, and we're committed to following up with that and getting the answers from Tech BC. It's not a WorkSafeBC problem, but we want to work with the industry to have a consistent message on what do they want done, how do we get there, and our goal, from what I've voiced, is to keep the machines running. If the risk doesn't outweigh the reward, let's keep the machines running and get them, if the inspections are required to CSA standard for the full machine, get them done when they come down, some sort of commitment to have it done before they're re-erected. So
they're still shutting cranes down in Surrey.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So
2 weeks
yeah,
ago.
okay. Some of the things that I want to work on, and I've put forth to BC Crane Safety for the future, BC Crane Safety is working on, and we want to be part of the first one for the future, is identifying a Canadian rigging standard and rigger competency. The second one would be develop a industry best practice for aging tower crane major component inspections. So what do we want to look at before we erect these tower cranes? What major components would be involved in that inspection, and have that as a best practice that we all follow. Supporting safety through regulation. Occupational health and safety is a minimum requirement that isn't one size fits all. Regulation doesn't always take into account the particular safety challenges an industry like the tower crane industry faces. So smaller sites, existing infrastructure, changes in technology, aging equipment, as we've all know, recruiting or retaining workers. I want to assure you that through the collaboration that we have here, and our team works with all parties to ensure tower cranes are safe. Our goal is to be directly involved, our team is directly involved with all crane, high voltage limits of approach, and equipment regulation changes within WorkSafeBC. I can confirm to you that we, the crane team, are the voice of the tower crane industry when it comes to regulatory change within our organization. We attend those meetings, we attend the regulatory changes, we talk to you and our associations about it, and represent you on behalf of the team in there. I would also like to remind you that all of you have the ability to make change to regulation. I encourage you as a body to go through your associations like the BC Association of Crane Safety and use that as a tool or a force when you have a problem with a regulation to get it changed. It's strength in numbers. I've been here 12 going on 13 years, and I see changes by coming forth with the power of the people, or the power of all of you coming together. So use Fraser and the BC Association of Crane Safety. Go to them with your problems as a group and say, we want to see this changed. It makes it work. I also encourage you to attend public consultations for regulatory change. If you don't like something or you do, that's your chance to voice what your concerns are as an individual. What we got here? Perfect. All right, the last slide. I'm going to wrap it up again by saying thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here, and thanks for staying till 4 o'clock to hear my presentation, and Fraser's coming up last. On that note, any questions for me? Oh, go ahead.
I do have one quick question about, we talked about the operator certifications being a requirement for the checklist, you know, to allow cranes to be put up and for the forming contractors to produce proof of training for their operators. Just one suggestion, I'd really like to see riggers have, for the contractors to make sure the riggers have proof of training as part of that approval process. Just seeing a lot of stuff on site that it gets missed. A lot of near misses occur because of, like, we're talking about rigging being in poor repair, or riggers themselves not being qualified. So if I could, I don't know, see that on the list, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Right now, the regulation 15.2 talks about riggers being qualified, and I guess the question is, how do you determine qualified, and does it need to be documented? I fully support a documented qualified rigger. I don't know that it's regulation that I can demand that someone has a document that says they are qualified. They need, when I ask for the question, how are they qualified? Where did they get their qualification? Years of experience, education, training, etc. But I support what you're saying fully.
Yeah.
So
I'd just like to see that added.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Me too. Yeah. Anybody else? All right, Fraser Cox. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just following up with that, you've got all these riggers that are handed a radio, federal frequency, and said, here, tell them what to do. Shouldn't there be an extra component for federal radio usage?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't thought about that one, and I don't know if there's a requirement by the Federal Radio Commission, I guess, to have that. I don't know, and I support it, like a protocol for it. Is that what you're talking about?
Best practices, there's nothing. So you get a guy who's 20 years old, he's learning, he's just on the radio, talking about what he did last night.
Right. But you're talking about, is he qualified to do his job, right? So that becomes a training component, is that what you're referring to?
Communication.
Right, but I mean, really, it's, can that individual do that?
Proper radio usage.
I think so.
And are they confident
There
of the
might be
skills they have? So,
I don't know. That's a new one for me.
The operator to ensure that, you know, there's some synergy and understanding between the two of them, as well as whatever the employer's responsibility is to do. You know, so, if we were to come on site and that was an issue, we would be asking questions about, you know, their level of understanding and their qualification piece. And I don't think it's unreasonable or unrealistic to say, if you're noticing it on site, you should be asking those same questions. Keep in mind, the regulation and the act are built in such a way as,
Great.
you know, they cover as many pieces as they can, but it's a bigger umbrella, right? So, you know, we can't address the specificity, you know, if it's the.
Just forward it back.
Okay.
We would address it that way.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
So I got the unenviable last spot. How much time do I actually have?
3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Let's run through the slides. I guess what I do need to thank Roberta for the work she has done. We couldn't have done this without you. I couldn't have done this without you. And all the WorkSafe side of it, this is truly collaborative. We truly do work together. And I look at this, the fact that you guys show up like this, that we've got all the people we need in the room, we are functioning as an industry. We may not all agree, we may not all like what's going on, but we're here and we're here to deal with it, talk about it, and get it on the table if possible. I'm going to point out a few people that weren't yet kind of spoken to. My chairman, Ryan, can you stand up? You're over here to my left. He's the guy I actually work with on a regular basis and answer to, so if you want to complain about me, talk to him. Okay, I have Vice Chair here, Clinton, over on the other end. He's in line to take over when Ryan's ready to be done, but he's also part of the board group of guys that I do answer to, so there is a system here. So I am accountable. Okay, thank you. And Jeff Gorham, who works for the operating engineers training. He's also a member of our board. So we do talk to the training people. We try to. So. And I don't think I've missed anybody as far as board representation. So I won't take too much of your time. I know the doorway's probably looking pretty inviting now and you don't want to get going, but I really look at this event and the way this played out as, like I said, bringing you guys together. The industry's functional. We're able to manage things. The Seattle incident, Brian, really thank you for taking the time up and effort to come up here. I know we've been working together for a while now, and if we hadn't had that relationship, I don't know if that would have happened. But you were willing, and I do appreciate the fact that you were. That's not an easy thing to do. I wouldn't want the role that he just had to do. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling here. I'm going to talk about three things. We'll try to. We are not perfect. The system is not perfect. There's always room for improvement. I try to be sensitive and listen to what you guys say, and look for the consistencies of what is being said, and try to find that, I don't know if it's a happy place, but that medium balance. Let's see, we're doing licensing, we're doing the tower crane work. We've got some work, activity with Vancouver City is what's going on there, and yeah, common standards and such. And I do have an update on rigging. I know that was asked, so I do have an update on that you may be happy to hear about. So level B, provisional, we call it level B. We call it a level B initially, tried to change the name because it was ABC, which you guys all seem to know. Whatever you start with is what you're stuck with. Been trying to make that shift to calling it what it is. Provisional being it's there for temporary reasons, typically for the training of an individual to become a fully qualified operator. Now, we get lots of questions on that. It sounds like people try to or may not necessarily be using it appropriately. So we're going to be tweaking and adjusting some of the definitions around that, particularly around supervision. And realizing as well that the operator's name is on that credential, but you must also realize that the employer's name is identified on that, and it's the employer who's responsible for that individual. So I think it's that message there unto itself is not necessarily getting home to everyone. And that seems to be the area of gray that we see some, I don't know, creative license being applied, maybe is a nice way of putting it. And I do think that as an association, we're going to try to tighten that up. That then trickles back through the enforcement elements and to you guys as industry so that we try to fix that and move away from any issues that might be presenting. Renewable, we have been talking about that, which seems like forever. It's been part of my mandate since I started this job back in 2005. It was something that industry wanted right from the very get-go. I've been learning a lot about that. I've been learning a lot about what's going on outside of British Columbia, across Canada, the United States, and now into Europe. So renewable is something that we as Canadians seem to not do that well or as consistently as others do. It's alive and well elsewhere, and I think it brings another layer of accountability. It's that license to title versus license to practice element. We all have driver's licenses. We all got them. Yeah, we did a test way back when. Doesn't mean we're good drivers. So it's a privilege, I think, is what the message is here, to be operating a crane. And that's what this is going to bring to the table, is that privilege to be there. So if you abuse it, you may be in jeopardy of maybe not being there, is what that means. So that's coming. That's work we're working on. Rigging standards and telehandler standard is on the list. Now, you should have found one of these on your table. There's something on here that you might like to look at when you get a chance. First ever, it's not even on our website. You're the first group to see it, really. It's been in development, so the ones working on it have seen it. It is the draft rigging standard. It's on that. Now, I need to clarify what that means. Your crane type, tower crane rigging, is specific to what you do. I also have to look after the mobile crane and the boom truck, and it's not exactly the same kind of work that your group does. So this standard that you're going to be able to have a look at is the minimum, what's common across all. So you're going to look at that maybe perhaps and think, this isn't going to do it for what we're doing, but I'm trying to establish a minimum. And then from there, we can build and flesh out further details specific to your crane type and the work that you do. So that's the plan going forward. As well as what I'm trying to do with this is establish this standard in particular nationally. We're going to start it here in BC. It doesn't exist in Canada as far as anything officially in place. It does in the United States and other countries. But the bigger picture goal is to take this across the country. I'm doing work with different things nationally, which have been not necessarily met with warm, fuzzy feelings and success, but perhaps rigging will be different. Okay. Okay. There's a storyline to this one. This begins actually with the Seattle incident, surprisingly. The operating engineers, via Brian Cochran, their business manager, wrote a letter to Al Johnson, wondering what was going to be done about this and what's going on to stop this kind of activity, and wanting to be part of what that could be and what can be done, work with everyone in the industry to get somewhere. That's what prompted us to have the meeting in August with the erectors, really. That was the driving force to get a meeting together and start talking about this. So spinning out of that discussion, a letter was sent via the operating engineers to the mayor of Vancouver, Kennedy Stewart. Hopefully I got that right. I always get it mixed up because to me it's two last names. But it was the first time I met him, so I don't know him personally. We had a really good meeting, and I think, Gary, you were at that meeting, Gary Capel, Frank Carr, the representative, myself, and someone else from the operating engineers was in that meeting, not Jeff at this particular stage. So very welcoming to what we were bringing to the table, and we did have another follow-up meeting just on Monday of this week with the engineering department with the City of Vancouver, trying to work into giving them a level of awareness, for one, as to what goes on, what you guys actually do when you're doing the erection and dismantle process, and try to bring some level of maybe respect and commonality, and so there's a shopping list of items that were brought forward primarily through Gary at the time. That was, I think, what outlined the details of what you guys are challenged by, i.e. flagging and people in uniform and just hours, like all the things we've been talking about today came up. We're working toward that. So that's a spin-off as to try to improve the situation that you guys have. So what I'm showing you here is just a bit of a graphic that we've been playing with in my office to try to educate mayors and/or councillors, hopefully across the whole Lower Mainland. This is the Mayor of Vancouver chairs the Metro Group, I guess that's what they call themselves, where all the mayors collect together, and he said they would be proactive, they would pilot something with us, and then he would take it to the rest of the mayors. So I think there's good potential to see some change and some movement there. And coming out of our meeting on Monday, we were going to strike a committee, so I'll be tapping some of you on the shoulder to be a part of it. Working committee to work with the City of Vancouver to rectify some of the issues that you guys face and are challenged by when you're doing the erection and dismantling process. So I think that's a good news, and I think that's another reflection of a industry that's functional. I don't know if I'm getting this pointed in the right, am I doing it here? Oh, there we go. We're playing around with this, trying to demonstrate again what does happen when this happens. I think this is not necessarily 100% accurate, but hopefully shows them what's going on. And I'm not the one to explain these things. Gary, you can do that when the time comes. Hopefully we'll get an audience in front of some of these mayors. So I'll move on. This is one Doug was talking about. These are elements coming back to what I said as well with the level B that are important. There's a lot of confusion when you talk about certification, licensing, credentialing. It's not all synonymous. They all mean different things, being qualified, being authorized. We're going to be putting some more work and effort into further definition and better understanding for everyone what that is and means. In some circles, they say the wrong word and you get the wrong reaction, and you didn't even know what you just said that caused that. So it's one of those rather, I don't know, we just need to do more work there, I guess is the best way to put it. So I got through that as quick as I could. If you guys have questions, this is the time. And then again, after that, Jared, you're going to do a draw, or what are we, I don't know what we're doing. You're getting me out of here. So open for questions if you have them. Otherwise, thank you. And I hope this was what you were looking for, the way this format went. This is Doug and I, brainstorming to make this the best possible event for you we could come up with. Hopefully we hit the mark.